Warning. The following podcast may occasionally contain strong language and material that is not suitable for all ages. If you are easily offended, it is highly advised that you turn back now. However, if you're a degenerate, welcome, brethren. You've found your home.
This is Wine, Dine, and Storytime. If you're just joining us, we're a podcast that shares stories of true crime, mysteries, and things that make us scratch our heads. We do this within a Dinner with Friends theme. I'm Nydia, the Black Sheep.
And I'm Dana, the Earth Mother.
And I'm Cindy. I'm the monkey's uncle.
This is the month that we gather and we share with our families, and we do this to give thanks. And we know what November is. It's Thanksgiving season.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's food season, our favorite
right.
season.
It's enter your neighbor's house and say this is mine now.
Exactly.
Okay. And we sit and we say we're blessed, and we pretend to like each other.
Exactly.
And we put people we didn't choose to be friends with together in a room.
That's right.
Because we had no choice.
Right. We force our fake smiles on our faces, and we eat a meal.
And sometimes we're hangry.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're uncomfortable.
I'm always
wearing
hangry.
that itchy sweater.
Ugh. And it's always hot in whoever's house it is because they've been cooking all day.
Yeah.
And people are like snoozing on the couch, and you're like, get out of here.
Yes.
Go home.
And sometimes we're even drunk.
No. People drink wine? What?
A lot of those are sometimes.
Uh-huh.
But always is a little bit of dysfunction.
Always.
Right there along with the carrots.
Just setting a little side dish right on the table.
A little side dish of dysfunction. Families can be tough to deal with, and for this reason we decided to cover stories of family annihilators.
We have so many issues.
And if you don't know what a family annihilator is, it's also a familicide.
Yeah. As a more clear term.
Yeah.
A more clear term.
But first, the food. Let us pray. Bless us, O patrons, for these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy donations through Patreon every month. Under the power of the V, Bad Bitches.
Cult.
Is it like a chicken pot? It's turkey pot pie, isn't it?
No,
what is it?
Chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot. Well, I thought turkey Thanksgiving.
Well, this isn't the Thanksgiving of it.
Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
So this is chicken pot pie. It looks like shredded chicken.
Which I fucking love pot pies so much. They're like one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I'm not hating that. It just looks like it's shredded chicken in there.
What is it supposed to be?
Your point?
No, I've never seen it shredded like that. So it gave it the appearance of something else.
What?
I don't know. Listen, I'm not myself today. Okay, bye-bye.
The crust looks
Let's eat.
The crust looks so delicious. It looks nice and brown and crusty.
Yes.
And we have some mashed potatoes, which I love.
That smells so good. It's
I
making
know.
my
Let's get a
stomach
plate
rumble.
going. What did you think of the pot pie?
It was good. It was delicious.
Good? Did you like it?
It was hearty.
It was very hearty. It was really flavorful. You did a great job seasoning it.
Why, thank you. I've never made a pot pie before, so...
What?
This was fun.
Yeah, it was really good.
There's no way she's never made a pot pie.
Yeah, it was.
Never made
I
a
wouldn't
pot
have known
pie.
that.
Well, here's the thing. I've never seen pot pie with shredded chicken.
I actually preferred it because sometimes
Yeah.
the chicken gets really dry if it's like all real chunky.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the shredded chicken. I'm just not used to seeing it that way. You'll usually see like cubed chicken in there.
There's not a ton of like gravy in there,
Mm-hmm.
which really made the crust hold up really well, which I
Yeah.
do love the gravy, but I didn't feel like it was missing any gravy for sure.
Yeah.
Side note, if you would have gotten it freshly right out of the oven, there was gravy all over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was lacking in any way.
No.
It really was good. And I really appreciated that the potatoes were mashed and on the side and not inside it because I really hate that.
Really? I enjoy the potato inside.
I know. Most people
know.
do, but I really don't.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So there
It's
you
like
go.
in the stew, like it'll be like in a stew or
Yeah.
something, and like it'll be all smushy and gross. And I just really just
Yeah.
mash it. Put a little sour cream in there, mash it up for me. Do it. Do me right.
I don't hate that she had the mashed potatoes on the side, but it was definitely in my thing. I was like, there's no potato in here, but the potato was on the side, and I housed that shit.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I always put if there's ever the option of mashed potatoes, the
Right.
answer is yes every
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Always.
The other day, I went to the grocery store and they were single serve mashed potatoes.
Excuse me,
and I was
please?
like, yes, like
Excuse me, please?
you can buy yourself a little cup of mashed potatoes and have it for lunch.
Oh my god,
Yep.
that feels like the height of opulence.
It's indulgent.
I mean,
yes.
so
You
I
have
get
to eat it with your pinky up.
so I get like a delivery meal kit.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah.
I won't promote it because they don't pay me, but it's very good and it's cheap. Probably 7 out of 10 of the sides are potato based.
Really?
All potatoes. Like, make French fries, make chips, make mashed potatoes. So if I get like 2 or 3 nights, I
Right.
usually get 3 nights. If I get like 2 or 3 of the nights that have potatoes, I just mash them up and have mash for the whole week.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm like, fuck it, I'm the only one here.
Right.
I love mashed potatoes. My son hates them, so I don't normally get to eat mashed potatoes. So I like literally eat mashed potatoes like every couple of days now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like constantly eating mashed potatoes.
I'm so jealous.
It's really great.
Okay.
And this week, my box usually comes on Tuesdays.
Okay.
And this week, my box didn't come on Tuesday. And I was like, oh, maybe it's like didn't come because of Veterans Day or something. 'Cause sometimes when there's a holiday, it's late. But then Wednesday, it didn't come. And I was like, my box didn't come. And like, I don't have food because I don't food shop. Like,
Right.
that's the point of the box, you know?
Right.
So I messaged them and was like, hey, hi, how are you? My box didn't come.
Right.
And they're like, no problem. They couldn't have been nicer. Here's your money back. You paid extra. Here's your delivery charge. Here's blah, blah. Everything. And then the next day, the box was sitting on my porch. And I was like, oh, shit. Thanks for that.
Yeah, but that's unacceptable because,
I mean, it was 3 days late.
yeah,
I was like,
that's unacceptable.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I don't feel bad about it, but I was
No.
just like, oh, look at
Or-
me getting a free box out of this.
Right. Or when my meal service, which I won't mention,
Yeah.
drops the ball,
Yeah.
it turns into a whole big deal.
Why?
Because Russ gets very upset. Like, it's a whole deal.
Okay.
His thing is like, it's not even about the food being important. It's about he's studying a recipe card. He's the one that's taking pride in making it.
Right.
And if all the ingredients are not there,
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
he's thrown the hell off.
Yeah.
You
Every
know?
now and then it'll be like the one time I needed panko breadcrumbs and it didn't come in the package, and I was like, I don't know if I have panko breadcrumbs. I
Right.
just
What now?
truly do not cook here anymore. Like,
Right.
I mean, I don't food shop at all. I
Right.
mean, I couldn't even tell you the last time I went food shopping because,
Well, it's annoying when it's something rare, like, you know,
yeah, like fucking, what the fuck?
truffles or some shit. And I'm like, really, fuckers? Like, you really couldn't fucking include that?
Right.
They'll include like 8 onions, no truffles.
Yo, do you know how many? Because like mine will come with, this meal needs garlic.
Right.
So it will send a whole head of garlic every time.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, guys, I don't need a whole head of garlic every week. I have like
Right.
7 heads of garlic. I'm like, I'm just going to cut the whole head of garlic up and put it in this whole meal.
I'll take that garlic.
I can give you a couple heads. I'm not kidding you. Like last week I threw a whole head out because it starts to get like bad after a while.
Honey,
you know?
put it in foil. Roast that shit
I
in your
should have
oven.
done that, I know,
Make
you're
a
right.
butter.
All right, I'll do that next time.
Yes.
All right, I'll give you a head before you leave.
This has been food subscription.
This has been no one pays us
Right.
advertisements.
This has been the downside of food subscription boxes.
Don't get one. Actually, I thoroughly enjoy it.
love it.
I love it so much. It's my
I love
favorite
it.
thing. I cook 3 nights a week, and then I have 3 days of lunches.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And
My-
then Cindy cooks for you.
And then she cooks for
Right.
me one day a week. And
My dream is to one day be sponsored by one of these food subscription
Definitely.
boxes and talking them up.
bitch, we'll cook it on the show.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
come on. We're the perfect vehicle for
A food subscription.
that and a wine subscription. Hello. Give us some food. Give us some wine. Like, literally, we don't even care about the money. I mean, I don't mind the money, but just like, you know.
Right.
Send us the subscription box.
For real.
Anywho, Cindy, you did some traveling.
Yes, bitch.
I did. Last week, I ended up in Maine on a suggestion of a Patreon listener and a listener. And I ended up meeting up with them out there. And we had a whole thing where... So in our Facebook group, we have a post about a pole in Maine, in Walmart, that gets constantly hit. They've even painted it different colors to try to make people not hit this damn pole, and people keep hitting the pole.
It looks gigantic, also.
It is gigantic.
Like, what the fuck?
We ended up driving to the damn pole, which was like 45 minutes from where we were staying, just to take pictures with the pole outside of Walmart.
Psychotic.
Well, first of all, I'm going to interject here. When that pole picture started making the rounds, which is it has its own Facebook page.
No.
Yes. When it started making the rounds, I became extremely invested in that pole. So when I saw Cindy take pictures with that pole, I was like, she's arrived.
Also,
While we were out eating at a brewery, having some poutine, because that's what you should have in Maine, a lady sitting not across from us was telling us that her mother had hit the pole not too long ago. And she went on a whole thing about her mother calling her in the morning and saying, "You got to come pick me up. I'm at Walmart. I hit the pole."
what the fuck is happening in Maine? Like, what is going on up
The
there?
thing is, you think it's just the one, but when we pulled up, I saw a whole other one. And the only reason I knew it wasn't the pole is because it wasn't the bright neon green
That is
that
fucking
the
hilarious.
pole is. Was completely leaning towards the side and half of the asphalt sticking out and out.
How fast do you have to be going to rip that fucking pole out of the ground? I mean, you got to be flying.
Yeah.
I mean, the pole. So we tried to take, when we took a picture of it, we tried to kind of
Yeah.
touch it, and it's like dangling there. It is. This is also the same place where somebody hit the gas pedal so hard that they slid underneath another car, and the other car was
I
sitting on
saw
top
pictures
of
of
the car.
that. That was so
Yes,
crazy.
this was all posted in our Facebook group.
That I remember seeing. That's so funny.
that pole. It's just,
They legalized some weed in Maine, and people don't know how to fucking act.
I guess.
The weed in Maine is good.
I'll take your word for it.
Did you have a nice trip?
Yes.
You went to Lancaster also, yeah?
I did go to Lancaster. We went with the Amish. Visited the Amish.
I will tell you, Nitty and I had a side conversation, and we have fired you from the podcast for going to visit listeners without us.
Yeah.
And we think it's kind of bullshit, so
Well,
Pack your things up.
get out.
Leave the food.
sounds like you guys
We wanted
need to start taking trips and actually visiting your patrons or your listeners.
I think it's bullshit.
I got a chance to do that a couple times, and
Yeah, this ain't the first time.
like
bitch.
you guys know, I make connections with people. I'm on the socials
Excuse you.
all the time, and
People
I
like
make
me, I'm
connections
likable.
with people, and
Did you?
they say
Not
yes.
so much.
That being said, what we're drinking today is a wine from Maine.
All right.
And it is called Oysters River Wine Growers. And I almost got...
It looks like someone wrote it with like a thing of chalk on.
Yeah.
Like a
And it is-
full of chalk.
American white wine.
I like it.
It doesn't get any simpler than this.
Yeah, it's got a cute little plain old wine label.
I don't hate it.
I like it. I think it's good.
I don't love a white wine. This is a Chardonnay. I don't love a Chardonnay, but
I think I do.
I manage. This is my second glass.
Yeah, I think I do.
This is my third pour.
Third pour?
Third pour. And I do modest pours.
Yes, we know.
Because I don't want to look like a full-on drunk.
Yes.
But by the end of the day, I will have 2 full glasses of
I
wine.
think it's fine. No one's
Yeah.
judging you, babe.
No. I'm judging myself harshly.
Perfect. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you want to hear a story?
Yes.
All right.
That's what we're here for.
Yes. Hence the
That
name.
and eating.
Food and story and wine.
That's right.
Today I got my story from New York Times, Vimeo, dailyvoice.com, newyorkdailynews.com, science.howstuffworks.com, astro.com, and a book I read last week, In Glory Shadow by Catherine S. Manigault.
Wait, for last week's episode?
Yes, so if you remember last week, I was talking about Shannon Faulkner and the Citadel.
Right.
Right?
During G.I. Jane
G.I.
episode,
Jane,
right?
yes. In reading the book on the Citadel and the Citadel's history, I came across a family annihilator.
Wonderful.
Yes. So this is just a student that went to the Citadel.
Oh, it was a student.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I was going to nestle his story into Shannon's episode.
Okay.
But as I was reading his story, I'm like, this is a whole ass story.
In and of itself.
In and of
right.
itself. And I knew that this episode was coming up next. I'm like, it couldn't have been handed more on a silver platter to me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read you a little quote from the book.
Okay.
In 1976, early on the Sunday morning following Thanksgiving, Officer Carl Olson of the Montevideo, New Jersey police stopped a car for passing through a stop sign without braking. Olson flicked on his cruiser lights and tapped the siren briefly. It was 4 a.m. Only the Montevideo streetlights cast a glow across the scene. The car jerked to a stop. A dark-haired teenager jumped out of the car and started shouting. "They're dead," he yelled, running towards the startled officer. "I found my family dead." Home from college for the long Thanksgiving weekend, Harry De La Roosh Jr., a gaunt and pale Citadel freshman in gawkish wire-rimmed glasses, led Olson to his home. There, the officer found De La Roosh's mother, father, and brother dead in various spots around the house. Another brother was found later, and near dusk on the same day, Harry De La Roosh was charged with murdering his family. So, I'm going to tell you what happened.
Please do, because he's saying that they're dead, that he found them dead.
He found them dead,
But
yes.
then they uncovered the truth.
Yes.
Okay.
But he says he didn't do it. But you be the judge.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I will be the judge.
I know you will. So, I'm going to tell you about the murder of the De La Roosh family.
That sounds so familiar.
So it was in New Jersey on Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, this is this episode's story. I mean, it was like, it couldn't have been more perfect for, for this episode. Anyway, Harry William Frederick De La Roosh Jr. was born in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey.
Englewood?
On September 23rd, 1958, to his parents, Harry Sr. and Mary Jane. He had two brothers, Ronnie and Eric. He was the oldest. Harry Sr. was an executive for the Ford Motor Company, and he was an attentive father, a member of the Montevideo Athletic League softball team, a Little League manager for more than a decade, a scout leader, and he urged his boys to work hard and succeed. As the three boys grew up, the two younger sons excelled in football, baseball, and bowling. They made friends easily, and they seemed to be very popular with kids their age. That was not the case for Harry. He was born premature, and he never gained as much strength or athletic abilities as his brothers. He played all the sports and participated in all the activities to please his father. He was never really as good as his brothers were, athletically, or like popular-wise, or just a little socially awkward. He was described as the kid everyone laughed at and picked on, a target for bullies. The more he tried to make friends with people, the more his peers humiliated him.
Aww.
The one thing he was good at, though, was shooting. Harry Sr. taught all three boys how to handle firearms, and he took them every week to a local pistol and rifle range to practice. As we talked about last week, the Citadel had a pretty bad reputation for incoming students and the way they were treated.
Yeah. Listen to that episode.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. When the students arrive, they are given a uniform, their heads are shaved. I can't imagine they're like real big on respecting gender identities. So men's hair is cut within a 1/4 inch of the scalp, while women's hair is cut to 3 inches.
When he was in there wasn't women.
When he was there was no women, yeah. I'm going to be talking about, like, all of the incidents of hazing and things are after he was here, because that's what I have on record. It's had to been way worse for the 100 years before, you know, what we were, like, able to know about what was really going on there.
Right, yeah.
The haircut earns the new students the title of knob because their heads resemble doorknobs. I said that last week. Yep. And they're not addressed by their name, but by knob and last name. So Knob Smith or Knob Jackson, that would be how you would address them.
Right.
A newsletter is sent to the parents of incoming students that tells them not to make large emotional displays when dropping their kids off in front of older students, because it would just be a bad fucking move.
Right.
The Citadel's internal attrition reports that about 16% of knobs don't make it through the first year of intense military training, physical activity, academic studies, duties, discipline, and emotional stress and endurance.
Is that still the case?
Yes. That was like a recent fact.
Really?
Yeah. As we talked about on the last episode, the first week of school is called Hell Week.
And that's still the case?
Yes, that's still the case. And, like, when you go to the Citadel's website, it talks about hazing, and they say, like, we don't allow hazing, and we don't this, but, like, we have, like, rules against this. And it does seem like the school is really trying to curb the hazing, quote unquote.
Right.
But, like, it's not. Like, they get in a lot of trouble for the way that their students have been treated and, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's got to create, like, a problem for them, because they're not a cheap school.
No.
And with all the choices that kids have nowadays, why would anybody want to put themselves through
Yeah,
that?
I don't know. I just like simply do not know like why you would want to. And like I was telling you last week that it's not West Point. Like it's not like
Right.
where they're like guaranteed a career in the military or that they're going to go, it's a military like school.
Right. Right.
So during Hell Week, the upper class candidates instruct knobs in basic military training and discipline. And this is where I think is the biggest problem, is that it's the older students who like instruct the younger students. And there doesn't really seem to be supervision, from like an official authority figure. So you're like really giving a lot of power to a group of young men and women at this time, you're just young men,
Right.
To like lord over other young men
Right.
who have
It
just been abused by the people above them.
Right. It reminds me of that prison experiment.
Yes.
Where like they had the prison guards and they're like,
Yeah, so it like perpetuates this like, well, this is how I was treated, so I'm going to treat you that way, and then you get to treat the next person that way, and it like just
Right.
like creates this really vicious like interlooping cycle. You know what I mean?
Ugh.
It's real fucked up.
That was the Stanford experiment, I believe.
that's the one.
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
that's why we have her here.
So they do intense physical exercise, dropping to the floor for push-ups, sit-ups, crunches, scrambling to their feet to run, like just sporadically.
Right.
Knobs also learn to shine their shoes, polish brass, make beds, keep their rooms in order, sweep the barracks, form to assemble, like marching and shit, drill, salute, learn rifle manual basics, learn to walk at a pace of 120 steps per minute, maintain good posture and rigid backs. At meals, they have to sit on the first 3 inches of their chair with upright backs, and they will be asked questions about the Citadel while they eat. They can do this any time of day, like where they'll just like, tell me this thing about the Citadel, and then like they have to do it.
So what happens if they don't?
They have to either, like I was telling you last week, like do all this marching and all this shit, or they,
Right.
like this one article that I was reading that How Stuff Works, who to me, and I could be wrong, I'm going to call this website out a little bit. They really sugar-coated what the Citadel was like.
Okay.
When they did the history of the Citadel, they never once mentioned that it was like a slavery uprising. Like that was a whole, every article, even on the Citadel's website, will say that it, like the school came out of like a slavery.
Maybe it's their alma mater.
Howstuffworks.com.
Like the person that wrote the
Maybe,
article.
maybe. Because it was very like, I was like, ooh, this is really very untrue. And so,
Wow.
like, they were being like, everything was like very sugar coated. Like, oh, they just have to go find out the answer and come back and tell them later. And you're like, yeah, I literally read in every other article that they would be like screamed at and like, you have to
Right.
do push ups and do, like, shut the fuck up. We all
Yeah.
know what the fuck military is.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
So, until 2008, knobs were not allowed to have phones, no cell phones, not in their rooms, no like outside communication. This changed because of the campus shooting at Virginia Tech, because they thought that they should probably be able to like contact help if there was a shooter at the school.
Right. And also maybe we're pushing our cadets
Yeah.
mentally a little too far.
Yeah. Well, instead of not doing that, we'll just let them have cell phones.
Yeah, so that they can call for help
They can call
when
for
they're
help.
bleeding.
When they get
eventually
shot.
one of them goes
Yeah.
off the edge.
They must always keep and wear a clean and neat uniform, shine shoes, polish their little brass buttons on their shirts and stuff.
Uh-huh.
They can only carry their belongings in a small bag in their left hand so that their right hand is always available for salute.
Oh, I thought you were going to say for punching.
Maybe defense, like just
Yeah.
stick it out. So
For blocking.
Yeah. It isn't just Hell Week that's difficult for the students, but like I said last week, so many quit the first week that they have like a 7-day return money policy.
Yeah.
But it's the whole time that they're there, and especially the first couple, when they're underclassmen. Hazing amongst students has become a problem at the Citadel. Students have reported being assaulted with swords, broomsticks, and butts of guns. I'm going to tell you some stories, but
That's fun. Why? They must have so many applicants.
it doesn't even sound like that many students, like 2,000 students go there or something.
like-
Like it's in all 4 years. Like
Right.
it doesn't, cadets have been denied meals by older students, their rooms trashed, and they are threatened constantly. There was a case where a cadet at the Citadel had placed the name and phone number of a local girl who was still in high school, on a pornographic website. Tyler Phillips was enrolled at the Citadel. His dream was to be a career Navy officer. He believes he was singled out by the upper class for bullying because he would not haze other students. What they sort of do is like try to pit the students against each other. If you guys will make fun of this one, than you're the cool kid, just like high school,
Right,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And he just like wouldn't be a part of it. Then Tyler joined the Citadel's cheerleading team, and it was a wrap for him.
How did they have a cheerleading team?
They have like sports, like football, like there's like sports there.
So it's like all guy cheerleaders?
Well, this is like in the 2000s. So
Oh, okay. So now
yeah.
at this point they have girls.
Yeah, there's girls and
Okay.
boys, I guess, on the cheerleading team.
Okay.
I guess there must be. I mean,
Yeah.
he joined it. So many occasions they would, older students would come into his room while he was studying, tell him to turn around and close his eyes. And like when an older student tells you to do something, you have to do it. They would hit him with a broomstick or the butt of a rifle. Philip said it happened a lot. He couldn't put a number on it, how many times this happened. He was spit on, kicked in the back. An upper-class cadet told him that he would set him on fire. The harassment was constant. They would steal and burn his books and school notes, and if he went to the infirmary for injuries, they would belittle him for seeking medical attention. If you remember last week, I said that the year Shannon Faulkner left the Citadel, the next year 4 women were able to join because of the accomplishments of her actions. I also said that 2 of them had filed harassment allegations. Those 2 women were Jeannie Mentavalis and Kim Messer. They were roommates, and they would argue with each other each morning to who would leave the room first because they were so scared to just walk to their classes because they were like constantly being harassed. Jeannie told of an upper class candidate ordering her into a small dorm room, turning off the light, slammed the door shut, and shoved like a stiff cardboard into her chin, like a piece of cardboard, like upper chin in her throat, and there were like 3 large welts on her face. They have to do this thing when you're being talked to by an upperclassman where they like stand really stiff and a person like yells or talks into your face. It's called bracing. If you've seen like literally any army movie, you know what I'm talking about. So she was standing there bracing while he is screaming in her face, ranting about why he came to the Citadel and the next time I'll show you what mean is, and like just screaming at her. She had fractured her pelvis bone, something in her pelvis bone, during training, and she was only allowed to go to the athletic trainer and not the infirmary for God knows what fucking reason. So she was in like a ton of pain. Late one night, 2 upperclassmen entered her room, lit a corner of her, so she's standing there, they make her stand up, she's standing there bracing, lit a corner of her sweatshirt on fire, and she could feel like the fire spreading up her arm, so she like had to break from bracing to like put it out.
Right.
And the 2 men were just like laughing at her. The junior cadet ordered the sophomore cadet to light her clothes again, and this time a hole burned through her sweater before the tall junior stomped the fire out while she was still wearing the sweater.
Okay, but what are the consequences of just knocking them out?
I don't think they feel like they can, like,
But
because
you
they're like,
absolutely can.
yeah, I just think that like the younger students don't feel like they can like disrespect an older student or like because it's like part of the like environment that they have cultivated at this school, like this hazing, like
Right,
they don't
okay.
call it hazing, but that is what it is because they're literally tormenting them because they're younger, because they're newer students. There's no other reason for it.
I guess I can't relate.
Personally, I'd be like, I don't go here anymore. You now are about to walk through the veil between life and death because I will kill you.
Right. Like
what are
I'm
you
gonna fucking
actually
turn
saying?
into a spider monkey
Yes.
and you're gonna have to peel me off of you.
I'm going to invade your human corpse and I'm going to remove the life from your body.
They're going to have to pry my jaw open because your nose is going to be within my teeth.
Exactly.
Don't fucking approach me and bark at my face.
Yo, one night in November, Jeannie and Kim and 2 male knobs had returned from a night of drinking and they had been seen by an upper-class cadet. He came up and dismissed the 2 male students and ordered the 2 women into a room of a top-ranking cadet. The women were forced to stand on tiptoe facing inside of like a doorless closet, like a nook, I guess it sounded like, in a rigid brace position for 2.5 hours. They were kicked while the men cursed at them and forced them to stretch higher and higher. They were screaming at them the whole time. The girls were crying. They couldn't like catch their breath because they were crying so hard, and the men like, screaming at them to tell them to then stop breathing. 2 weeks after this, Jeannie ran into the cadet that lit her shirt on fire, and he splashed her with nail polish remover and lit her on fire again. And that was it. She ended up leaving the school after that.
Does the police not exist?
I don't know.
Dude, yeah, I
And that was in the 90s, like...
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
So these are just like some instances of like
Right, how
stuff that happens at the Citadel. And
Right.
again, this is way after Harry De La Ruche was there. These are just like things I found on the internet.
This is quickly becoming an anti-Citadel.
I know.
podcast.
I was like, let me stop because I could like keep going and going and going about like why the Citadel is terrible. The Citadel is terrible, but like that's not the point. I found like a forums of like people being like, "This is what happened to me here." These were
don't
just like
go to that school.
things that I found like in actual articles, like in the New York Times and shit. Yeah,
That is not a necessary school.
it's crazy.
You want a military career? Try to get into West Point. Fuck the Citadel.
You're like join the army or something.
Yeah.
Fuck the Citadel.
Fuck the Citadel.
So this is not a story about the hazing at the Citadel.
Okay, because I was like, where are we going with this, Dana?
But this is about a young man who definitely could not handle the environment that the Citadel cultivates. This is actually, about the repercussions of him attending the school and his mental state.
Yeah, because prior to that, it was like really toxic.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the 70s.
Right, yeah.
Imagine the 70s.
If that was the 90s, what you just explained.
yeah.
The 70s
the 90s
was
and the
just
early
like,
2000s,
yeah.
right.
Unfiltered.
Yeah. And imagine, like, if you see a picture that you'll see a picture of this kid.
Right.
He's like a nerdy herdy, like
Yeah.
wire glasses, like real thin. He's like 6'3", very tall and thin.
Wow.
Just like a like nerdy guy. That,
So
like,
he was being bullied in high school and he
he
decided
was
to
bullied
continue his bullying career?
Yes, because his dad wanted him to.
Oh, okay.
And it feels like one of those things where this kid just wanted his dad to be proud of him, so he'd do anything
Okay.
to not disappoint
Yeah.
his dad. And so the documentary I watched really made the family seem like they were an all-American family, a nice guy. The dad was like, he was a softball coach and the Cub Scout leader and a really nice guy. So like, I don't know what was happening like behind closed doors. You don't know. The way he describes it is
Yeah.
like, his dad was so abusive, but like the people in the documentary I watched were like, no, like we wished our family was like their family. It was so great. So
Yeah,
it's
but
really
that's
hard to
always
say.
an outsider.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's real hard to say like what really was going on. And maybe it was just him. Like he couldn't
Internalized
say
it. Yeah.
to disappoint his dad because he wasn't as fast or strong as his brothers. It wasn't as popular as his
Right.
brother. Maybe it was just him seeing it that way. Who's to
Right.
say,
Right.
He gets to the Citadel. He's considered one of the worst students in the class, and of course he struggles. He doesn't keep up with his clothes. He doesn't keep them neat and clean. He stops showering altogether. He skipped classes, and other students recalled him having like a vacant face and a rank smell. He told the school a few days before Thanksgiving break that his mother was diagnosed with cancer and he needed to leave a few days early to be with her. The school never checked that, by the way. When he left the school, he knew that he was not going back. But what he didn't know was how he was going to tell his dad. He would later say that you just couldn't talk to him. Again, whether that was the case or not, that's how he felt about it.
Right.
So he spends the week with his family. He knew that the deadline was looming and he was not going back to the school. He had decided that his plan was to murder his family. When the police get there and they find his parents and youngest brother dead, but not the middle brother, Ronnie. And Harry says that he thinks Ronnie is the one that killed the whole family because he had gotten caught recently smoking pot. And his dad was like really mad that his son was smoking pot.
Right.
So he's like, we can't find Ronnie. I think Ronnie was the one that killed them. The police put on APB for Ronnie, but then they find Ronnie stuffed in a locker in the attic 12 hours later. And then all suspicious eyes turn to Harry. Like, side-eye that motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
Harry, what's going on here, Harry?
Yeah.
What happened?
Also, you got a little lazy there, bud.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? So he makes this confession, and this is a dramatic reading from the documentary that I watched.
I was just trying to think of some way to get out of going to the Citadel. And I came in 3 o'clock, and it was 7 hours before I had to leave for the plane. And there was nothing I could do to stop it. I had the pistol on the bed. I was sitting in my room for a while, thinking of what I was going to do, thinking I can't go back. And I really couldn't tell my parents because they wouldn't listen. So I seen my father. So I kept walking back and forth from the entrance to my room to the entrance of my parents' room. Walked in there, said, no, I can't. Walked back to my room, sat down for a little while, kept on doing it. finally, I walked into my parents' room, got real close to my father. Must have stood in his room about a half hour, just holding the pistol up. And then finally I said, I can't go back to the Citadel. Closed my eyes and pulled the trigger. And that set it off. Shot my mother right then. And then I went into my brother's room, Ronnie. When I turned on the light, Ronnie was laying on the side of his bed. His eyes were open like he was in shock, like he didn't know what was happening. I guess he didn't. I shot him. And I went over to Eric. Eric started to get up. Shot him twice. He was still getting up. Then he started to go back down on his bed. Then I went back to my room and just sat there for a few minutes. Then I heard some really heavy breathing, and I thought, oh my God. I went back into my brother's room, and there was Eric. He was trying to get up and trying to get out. He was saying something. I couldn't hear him. I put my hand over his eyes and put my hands over his eyes. I said, Eric, go to sleep. Go to sleep. It's just a dream. Trying to calm him down. And he got up and started screaming. And I hit him with the pistol butt in the head. Then he went down to the ground. I hit him again. He was still breathing. And the second time I hit him, he wasn't breathing anymore.
Ronnie was 15 and Eric was 12 years old. Eric would not have died from his gunshot wounds. He was killed with the pistol whipping about the head. He's taken into custody. He makes the statement immediately.
Right.
He then gets a lawyer and then says that he made that confession under duress. That's not what happened. That he showed up, Ronnie had actually killed the whole family. He killed Ronnie out of anger, and that's why he stuffed his body in the attic.
I don't believe that.
No fucking way. That's still the story he maintains today. In this documentary, that he's still the story he maintains. The trial began January 5th, 1978. He was initially saying Ronnie did it, like I said.
Right.
Pretty quickly, his legal team realizes that was not going to fly, and they changed his plea to temporary insanity, which he did not agree to. On January 24th, Dr. David Galena, a witness for the defense, was hoping to lay the groundwork for like a more lenient decision.
Right.
You know? And on the stand, Galena described Harry's state of mind on the night of the murders. He said that the boy's consuming fear of the Citadel, coupled with his dread of confronting an overbearing father, had sent him into a psychotic state in which he could not tell right from wrong.
I believe that.
The psychiatrist portrayed Harry as a bright and nonviolent young man trapped in a violent atmosphere at his college.
Yeah, and he probably had a dad that, like, let's face it, you know, had expectations for him that he just felt like he couldn't meet,
whatever his expectations were, whether they were real or in his own head, like, he felt like he could not meet them.
Right, and it's not to say that he didn't do a horrible thing and, you know, needs to be punished for that.
Right.
But
He explained as a freshman at the Citadel, Harry was hazed and ridiculed and punished to the limits of his endurance. Unfortunately for Harry Delevers Jr., the jury was not buying it, and he was sentenced to concurrent life terms for each of the 4 counts of murder by Judge James F. Madden. In 2019, he was denied parole for the 6th time, and he is serving out his sentence at Southwood State Prison in Bridgeton, New Jersey, less than 1 hour from here.
wow.
He maintains, you should watch this documentary, the way I
Right.
played that clip from. It's very good. It's only like 45 minutes. But it's him, like, talking, and it's his, like, neighbors, his kids, like,
Right.
describing what the family was like. He maintains, like, he's like, I didn't do it. Ronnie did it. It's the same thing that the other guy from Jersey that killed his whole family, the kid that the haunted house is about.
The Villisca house murder?
No. New Jersey. You'll know it as soon as I say it.
You always say that, and I don't.
You will know this one. It would be crazy if you didn't. Ed and Lorraine Warren, the Amityville Horror. The Amityville Horror. You don't know the Amityville Horror?
I know the movie. I thought that was a house in New York, in upstate New York.
Actually, I think they're in Jersey. Maybe it's in upstate New York, but I think they were from New York, but it was in Jersey. Maybe it is in New York.
Yeah, I think Amityville is in New York.
Amityville is definitely in New York.
Oh, okay,
That's
well-
why I'm confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Because I thought you were talking about John List.
no. I'm talking about the kid.
I don't know that story.
The Amityville, the story.
I don't know the actual Amityville horror. thing.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Mm-mm.
Really?
Yes, Queen, I don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Amityville Horror Story house is like the kid, he's a teenager, kills his mom and his dad and all his siblings, and then he says that it's his oldest brother that actually did it, or maybe his oldest sister. One of his siblings did it. And the sibling killed everybody, and he just killed the one sibling. And then that house became, up for
I
sale
thought
later.
it was the dad
No,
that did it.
no, it was
Oh.
the son.
Oh, okay.
But it was the same, like, sort of storyline.
Yeah, well.
I'm surprised you don't know that story.
I'm surprised that you think that I know that story. I mean, you
it's
always
like
do that.
The most huge fucking story of all time, the Amityville house. Like, come on.
No.
So,
But you
yeah,
know about the Amityville house, though, right?
The movie. I don't know about the Amityville house, the actual house.
Oh, okay.
yeah, that was in New York. That's why I was confused. I thought you were
What's-
talking about John
I thought it was
List.
like in North Jersey. No, not that guy. That's like a dad that killed his kids. I'm talking about this is like almost this exact same setup where the oldest
Right.
sibling killed the,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Damn.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's the Citadel's fault. Like, clearly there's some, like, mental illness and,
Right.
like, depression and all kinds of shit
Yeah,
happening
because, like,
here.
normally, like, you would think, like, okay, you don't want to go back to the Citadel. You would probably take your own life instead of everybody else's.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
not if you're, like, afraid, Like, that's scary to you.
Yeah. I can't
I mean, who
really-
can, yeah. Listen, we're not pro-suicide.
No, we're not pro suicide. We're not pro family murders.
Right.
We're not pro any bad things, really.
Yeah, the name of the documentary is called Harry, Communication Breakdown. So, like, basically, like, if they would have been able to just, like, talk to each other about how they were really feeling.
Right.
Like, his parents probably would have been like, don't go back. 16% of people drop out of the school. Like, it's not that fucking serious.
Yeah, but 1974's dad
Right.
would probably be like, "Oh, definitely go back. You're a man.
going
we
back,
don't
right,
quit."
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
And
yeah.
that's probably the frame of mind that he was coming from.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I can harm myself, or
Or I can kill my entire family, which
And,
sounds really
yeah.
awful.
but I think he thought that he would pin it on his brother, and they would be like, "Sure."
Well, what did he think? They were just like, we're simply not going to check
he
the
wasn't
attic?
thinking.
Like-
He wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
Clearly. So glad I heard that story.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Wonderful.
Do you want to take a break?
Yes, Dana, I think it goes without saying.
All right. What's up, y'all? Thanks for sticking with us on our Not Thanksgiving episode. Cindy's getting us dessert, and while she's doing that, take a minute, meet our new friends, and when you're done listening to us, go check them out.
I'm Whitney.
And I'm Melissa,
We are podcast addicts,
fascinated with true crime.
winos,
Boy moms,
and both live in Texas.
we became best friends almost instantly.
When we discovered our obsession with true crime, Pinot Grigio, and all things macabre.
We decided to bring our love of wine and podcasts to you.
Join us on our weekly adventures as we branch out on new wines and cover crimes from across the nation.
We will discuss everything from cults to kidnappings to murders and all that fall in between.
Pop a cork or grab a glass.
This is Cults, Crimes, and Cabernet.
And we're back.
Ooh. Is this a parfait?
It looks like cookie parfait, too.
It is a cookie parfait.
Wait.
They're called milk and cookies.
I love milk
It's
and
a milk and
cookies.
cookies, like lasagna kind of thing. I just hope it tastes good.
Bitch, it looks delicious.
So crossing fingers. Hopefully, you like it.
Why are we having this? Like, what is it? What is its basis?
I was figuring a lot of what I made was family dinner type things,
Ah.
and milk and cookies feels like a family night thing.
Gotcha.
Got it. All right,
Gotcha.
let's dig
All
in.
right. Scrumptious.
Cream, melty cookie,
Scrumdiddlyumptious.
pieces of crunchy cookie.
Was it a chocolate chip cookie?
It was a
Like
it was
a-
a chunky Chips Ahoy.
Chunky chips.
It was good. It was
Yep.
so tasty. But I feel my belly starting to rumble because of the dairy.
So delicious. I want to eat it every day. Was it pudding too?
No, it was Cool Whip.
Yeah.
Just what was chocolate in there? Chocolate Cool Whip?
The
the chunks.
The chocolate.
No, but I
chunks
mean, what
from
was
the
making the Cool Whip brown?
Melted cookie.
You take the cookie, you slightly dip it in milk, just a little bit.
Oh.
That's why it's called cookies and milk.
That's why they were soggy.
Yes.
Oh, I'm here for a soggy cookie.
Interesting.
I know you don't like that.
Don't love it.
I do. I love
know,
a soggy.
I
Cookie.
knew one of y'all was not going to be happy. At least one of y'all.
I mean, they weren't like soggy.
It's such an easy dessert.
Yeah, no, that was,
Get some Cool
and
Whip.
it looked super fancy.
Crumble some cookies. Right.
Skip the dunking in the milk part.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Love it.
Lazy man's dessert.
What else is new?
So you guys, talking about some horrible family stuff here.
Yeah,
I decided to not do that.
we appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So on somecards.com, there's 17 stories that people have shared about basically dramatic family shares. Stories.
I love a dramatic family share.
The mom sent the boys upstairs with popcorn as a fun treat. She heard a whole lot of screaming and yelling and whatnot and walked in on them with popcorn, squeezing popcorn between their butt cheeks and farting to make the popcorn
I hate them.
fly out. And then when she caught them, wait for it, when she caught them, they tried to start eating the popcorn to get rid of the evidence.
Nope. Don't like that.
Oh no!
I think that was a little...
Yeah.
I had all boy cousins, and they were definitely like that.
Dana.
My cousins we used to have like barbecues and stuff when we were little, and they used to stick the macaroni noodles up their nose and shoot them across the table at each other. They meaning we, all of us did that.
Okay, but that's different. That's your nose.
Yeah, that's
Your
true.
butt, that's
Yeah, we didn't stick stuff in our butts.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
There was no butt stuff happening.
Yeah.
But we were always sticking shit up our nose and like shooting it at each other.
Ugh.
Nasty still.
Her face, she looks so mad.
Well, I'm reading the next story, and the next story says, my mom had CPS called on her when I was 5. The postal worker called because all they can hear through the neighborhood while she was delivering was her screaming. Like, the postal worker kept hearing her 5-year-old ass screaming through the whole neighborhood as she was delivering the paper.
Okay.
So what they had to do was mom would leave the door open while she was doing her hair so that they could see that she was not being abused. They were just doing her hair.
Oh my god. She was screaming because she was getting her hair done.
She
Natalie
was screaming that bad because she was getting her hair done.
Natalie has naturally curly hair, and it's very thin hair. So, like, she has like those really beautiful curly cues when she was a little girl, but it's very thin, very delicate hair, right? So when it would get tangled, there was no untangling.
Oh
that
my
shit.
god, my mom.
was
My mom was
bad.
the worst. She would like rip our hair out.
Really?
And we
Oh,
had,
I
like,
was so gentle.
Oh, my mom was a nightmare.
But she
my
would
mom
scream.
was so mean. Oh, we would scream too all the time. And it was like the early 80s, so my mom would like grab us by the bangs and like and do like teasing, like make these big bangs. We were like little 8-year-olds with bangs and like a woofy wave on the top. Like, can you fucking chill? We were like 6. Like, fuck.
She would give you big poofy bangs.
Yes, I have pictures of it out there. It's psychotic.
I'm going to leave you with the last one, which is perfect for our Thanksgiving episode, or so-called pre-Thanksgiving episode. My uncle was caught wearing my mom's lingerie at Thanksgiving. End of story.
Oh God! It's not about the wearing the women's underwear. That's not what I'm like saying. Oh God! About it's his sister,
Or at the very least, his sister-in-law.
right? Like that's what I'm not cool with.
We shouldn't wear other people's underwear.
Right. I mean, I don't care if you want to wear, lingerie.
Go
If
buy
you're
your
a
own
man
lingerie.
and you want to wear lingerie, whatever.
Love
I
to
don't
see
want
it. Get an OnlyFans. We want to see it.
Yeah, I don't want to yucky your yum.
Just get your own.
Right. Just get your own.
Get your own. Don't wear mine.
No, never.
That means like they were like having Thanksgiving dinner and he was like, I have the best idea. I'm going to go into your room while you're cooking. Rifle through your underwear drawer. I'm going to try this on. Way to bring the room down, Cindy.
I just thought it was perfect for a pre-Thanksgiving episode.
Also, how do you find out that he's wearing it?
Someone's probably like, hey, where'd Uncle Jim go?
And he was like in the room.
Uncle Jim. Uncle Jim. I'm like, I'll go find him. And like the little 6-year-old's like running around the house.
And she's scarred for life.
She just opens the door and she's like, oh. Close the bathroom door.
Okay, yeah, no.
Oh, that's a shame.
Another thing that's no is my story.
All right, let's hear it.
And the thing is, like, it's interesting that your story was connected to last week's story, right?
Right.
My story is going to make a nice segue into next week's
Oh,
story.
so fun.
Yes.
Look at us. Proper
So it's like we
planning.
sandwiched this episode between our episode last week and
Yeah.
our episode next week.
Perfect.
How about that?
Look
We
at us.
didn't
We're
plan
we're
that.
getting so good
the
at this.
hell? All right. So I got my story from wikipedia.org, cnews.france, .fr. That's the France internet. Like you didn't know that? For marieclaire.com and www.strangeoutdoors.com.
All right.
I really want to give kudos to French Outdoors. Their story was excellent.
Okay.
So I quoted a lot from them.
Perfect. All
No, their
right.
story was excellent. They do it like it's actually a story.
Okay.
You know,
I
instead
love
of like
that,
you're
yeah.
reporting. I like that because it like holds your attention better.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I am covering Dupont de Ligonnès family murder. Now, this is French, and I didn't study French. My extent of the French language is reading the back of the shampoo bottles.
Oh.
When you were little, you never did that?
Eau de toilette.
Yeah, eau de toilette,
Yeah.
Chanel.
Right. Yeah, that's
You know.
agreed.
Right. Menage a trois. Stuff like that, right?
Gotcha.
You never did that as an
Yes,
8-year-old? Like,
definitely,
not a
yeah.
menage a trois, obviously. But reading the
Yes,
back of,
I did, yes.
of the shampoo bottle
Definitely.
and thinking you
Yes, before
knew the
cell
language.
phones,
Yeah.
when you had to go to the bathroom and you had
Right.
to read the back of the shampoo bottle.
And
or
you were
whatever.
like, I'm proficient in French now.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Oui, oui.
yeah. While you're doing the wee wee.
Yes, exactly.
So, the Dupont de Ligonnès family was an old aristocratic family originally from the south of France. Their ancestors go way back to include a bishop and a count.
Oh, wow.
They are nobility,
All
French
right.
nobility. Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès was born January 9th, 1961 in Versailles. And Versailles, that's where all, the castle
hoity-toities are.
and-
Yeah, right.
and he was the son of Bernard Hubert Dupont de Ligonnès.
Okay.
He was an engineer, and he was also a count, which is a high-ranking spot right under
Right.
duke. And in countries with no king and queen, I guess he would be considered a duke. So he's up there,
He's up there.
right? So I learned this useless knowledge from Britannica.com.
Perfect.
I was like, what is a count?
Okay.
And then I learned that.
So it's like up there, but not really anybody important.
it's
but
like under the king.
Oh, right under the king?
If there's a king,
Okay.
there would be the duke,
Oh.
and then it would be the count.
Gotcha.
When
All right.
there is no king, then he would be considered the duke,
Wow.
the big guy.
All right. Okay.
Okay, I believe that's how it is.
All right.
Could be totally wrong.
So
So
then-
his mother was.
Geneviève Thérèse Maître.
Here's a little story about his mother
Okay.
and father. So his dad abandons Xavier and his sisters and mom, and he goes to live in Africa, or something like that. He just pieces out, right?
He's out of there.
Out of there. Xavier is left with his very much Catholic mother, who's also a little clairvoyant, a little,
Oh, clairvoyant.
out there.
All right.
Little hippy dippy.
Love her.
It's the 60s.
Even better.
She fits right in. Let the religious trauma begin.
Oh, no.
Because his mom has very much kooky beliefs.
Okay.
All right. So, borderline cultish, even. So, in the late 1960s, she founded a sect called Philadelphia.
Oh,
I believe it's still a sect.
really?
So in 2011, one of the members of the group was interviewed. He claimed that they nicknamed Genevieve Violet. And according to her, she claimed to receive messages from the hereafter.
All right. All right. All right.
Yes. So before Xavier does the deed, which I'm about to tell you, he goes on his computer, opens a Word document, and types out an entry about this quote-unquote religion his mother taught him. Now, whether he's referring to Philadelphia or Catholicism, that's another story.
Okay.
because there is evidence that he had been visiting religious forums to debate with people about faith. And even though he continuously got banned, he would create new accounts and be right back at it. He was a man in the middle of losing his faith, and he had questions about it.
What year is this?
This is 2011.
Okay.
But he had been, questioning his faith for some time.
Okay.
So he's a young stud. I'm going back to the beginning,
All right.
okay,
Back
of how
in the
this
60s.
all comes about. Now,
Okay.
this is the 80s.
Oh, the 80s.
So he's a young stud from a family with noble birth. His dad is a count, and he meets Agnès Hodenje. She was 2 years younger and from a wealthy family of lawyers and such. Okay?
Okay.
Old money. So they date for a while as teens, and Xavier leaves to sow his royal oats.
Okay.
You know. So when he reconnects with her, he finds that she's an unwed mother with a son named Arthur.
Okay.
All right, so he's in love, and he decides to marry Agnès anyway, even though this was not the practice at the time. Apparently, in the 90s in France, unwed mothers were like a fucking...
Poo-poo on
Yeah,
them?
like in the 90s.
Come
really?
on, yeah.
Come on. So anyway, so they get married, and Agnès gets an inheritance or trust fund, and Xavier starts a number of businesses because nobility doesn't work for others.
Yeah, they can just do whatever they want.
Right.
Yeah.
So during this time, Agnès has 3 more kids with Xavier, and they are all gorgeous. They look like a magazine French family.
Yeah.
They were like, it was just really... He's opening up businesses, using her money, blah, blah, blah.
This is why I think I was born into the wrong type of family.
Why?
Because I want someone to let me open many businesses and spend someone else's money. That's what I want.
It doesn't end well for them, honey.
Let me try. Let me try. Let me just spend money and do whatever I want. I don't want to work.
Just hear me out.
All right.
So in 2011, they lived in a modest house at 55 Boulevard Robert Schumann, I guess, in
Loire Antique, France.
France?
France. Okay.
I speak a French for you.
All right. So they're in France, in Nantes. I want to Nantes.
They're in France.
They're in Nantes. Nantes. That's how it's said.
yeah.
Nantes.
Sure.
I think that's how I heard it pronounced before. Nantes. Normally, I give myself pronunciation things, but I did it on a paper and I forgot to translate it to this.
Perfect.
All right.
Love the
so
effort.
Nantes, France.
I hate you so much.
All right. Xavier's professional activities were very vague. Nobody knew really what he was doing for business.
Okay.
All right. But he described himself as an entrepreneur.
That's right.
Xavier created several businesses with limited success, most of which catered to traveling salespeople and restaurant guests. So he founded NetSurf Concept LLC, a company that was recorded on the Commercial Register in Florida. When he first broke up with Agnès during their teens, he traveled to the U.S., did the whole Route 66 thing with his buddy, did the backpacking through the states.
reverse.
Yeah, the reverse.
of what we do. It sounds like he got the raw end of the deal.
Yeah.
Like, what
So
the
he
hell?
visited 48 states. Like, he did the thing,
fuck? Okay.
He just didn't go to, I'm guessing, Alaska and Hawaii.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so he did the
Continental.
Yeah. So anyway, but he did this business in Florida.
Okay.
Out of Florida. It was registered in Florida. It was called NetSurf. And he did this with an advisor, Gerard Corona. And that was a French immigrant. And he managed the company. This was founded in 1998. Corona specialized in assisting foreigners with administrative and legal procedures in the USA and helped his clients open foreign bank accounts to obtain anonymous bank cards, allowing them to withdraw money anywhere in the world without leaving a trace. Put a paper clip in that, because that's going to come into play later on. So he's got this connection with this guy that can basically make you disappear.
Right.
And it's his business.
Okay.
Okay. So in 2003, he formed a business called Cellref, and the purpose had been defined as secretive, with only the bare minimum information ever released to authorities. Like, you go look it up, you can't get any information on it.
All right.
So Xavier hired 6 salespeople for this company in 2003 and then quickly let them go, like, within weeks.
Okay.
Nothing else. Like, end of story. That was it.
All right.
All right? Agnès, the matriarch of the family, worked as an assistant at Blanc de Castile Catholic School in Nantes, in France, where where part of her duties involved teaching catechism. She was described as being very religious, regularly attending mass with her children, and she was described as approachable by her neighbors.
Okay.
I don't think your neighbors would describe you as approachable.
No. A little boy knocked on my door today because there was number 40 balloons flying around the neighborhood. And he always wants balloons when you have a party. So he'll knock on your door and say, "Can I have your balloons?" And he knocked on my door. The balloons went across. I saw them go across my window. And then my doorbell rang. And it was like the balloons rang my doorbell. And it really freaked me out. So I was like, what the fuck? So, which I normally never open my door. But the balloons rang the doorbell. So I was like, what the fuck? And it was a little kid. And he's like, "Can I have these balloons?" And I'm like, "They're not mine." I said, "I think they're those neighbors over there." So he knocks on their door and then comes back here and goes, "It's not theirs. Can I have them?" And I'm like, "They're not mine. I don't care if you have them." Sure.
You engaged. You should have just been like, absolutely.
I was like, I don't know whose balloons they are. And why are balloons ringing my doorbell?
That's really cute, though.
He always every party that we've ever had here. No, we've had two, but the two parties we had here that had balloons. He knocks on the door in the morning and he's like, "Can I have the balloons off your mailbox?" I'm like,
"That's
yep."
adorable.
He's very cute. I'm like, "Where are your parents? Why are you knocking on strangers' doors?" He's little, like 6.
Oh my god.
He's really cute though. Anyway, not to change the subject, but
to change the subject.
Yeah.
All right. So she would always go to mass, and she was also very much not happy in her marriage.
Okay.
She would make anonymous posts on French medical websites, for mental health and whatever. And she would say about how unhappy she was in her marriage and how worried she was about money troubles. And she was constantly posting on these forums, for groups for either mental health or religious things. She wrote, "I am lacking in everything: tenderness, love, mutual friends, sex, everything. I have a husband who is very old-fashioned in his way of being in the family. The father is the head. He gives an order. We execute it without seeing to question or understand. Period." And I think she was really frustrated because she had this inheritance. He blew through her money. And he was probably always coming up with convoluted business ideas that never really panned out, because he had this superiority complex where he was like, "Well, I'm the son of a count. When my dad dies, I'm going to be the count." That's gross. Which means nothing, but he just had this, I come from good blood.
I come from
nobility,
that's so gross,
Yeah. And so I think he wasn't moving with the times.
Okay. Yeah, now it's the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Go sit down somewhere.
Yeah,
no one cares about this anymore.
No one cares about this, right. So
also, isn't there not a president? There's a president in France now, right? There's no king.
I don't know how the whole... Is there? What is it? Do they have a...
They have a La Presidente.
Oh, okay. So this is
Emmanuel Macron.
Okay, yeah, but is there... I mean,
Marie Antoinette was the last... When they got their heads cut off, that was the last monarch in France was back when Marie Antoinette had her head taken off.
So this is just a...
Formality.
Thing, where
Probably not even. Go away. Just sit down. No one cares.
Right.
Literally no one.
Yeah, because Britain still has
Right. That's different though. They still have a monarch. But
right.
France does not.
But it's just it's a monarch.
I mean, even they are very the parliament runs the country.
Yeah.
The queen doesn't have any
They're just landowners.
Right,
yeah.
France is a republic. There's no current royal family recognized by the French state.
Okay, so they're all just
Yeah, Marie Antoinette, when her husband and they lost their head, their son, they tried to train him to hate his father, and then they were going to try to bolster him up as a little kid monarch.
Right.
And not follow the way his parents lived, but then they ended up killing him when he was still a child. So they were the last king and queen of France.
Correct. According to Britannica.com, it says the line ended with the Bourbon monarchs preceding the French Revolution in 1789.
Okay.
I seen Les Mis.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen it.
I saw Les Mis on Broadway.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to go back to my story.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so they had 4 children.
All right.
Arthur, which was from the previous relationship, and he was age 20. Thomas was age 18. Anne was age 16. And Benoit, age 13. Arthur was born July 7th, 1990. He was recognized by Xavier. He married Agnès when the boy was 2 years old.
Okay.
So he raised him as
He was his
son.
dad, yeah.
He earned a baccalaureate in science
Wow.
and industrial technology and sustainable development at the age of 20. So I guess in France they do like, you know, your high school that you start to focus on what you're going to study in college.
Oh, cool.
So he was studying for the technical diploma in IT at Saint Gabriel Private College that was an hour away from Nantes, which is where his parents lived.
Okay.
So every weekend he would come home and he would work at a pizzeria in Nantes, visit his family, be with his family, and then go back
This
home.
like rich family.
They weren't rich. They lived in a rented apartment.
Oh, okay. But I thought she had money.
She
But
had.
he blew through it.
I mean, he blew through about 100,000 of her inheritance.
Okay.
They weren't like. This is old money that was no longer theirs. You know what
Okay,
I'm saying?
gotcha,
They
yeah.
just had their title.
Gotcha.
And the belief that people thought that they still had money. They
Okay.
were fronting.
Gotcha. All right.
So he was 20 years old at the time of his death, Arthur.
At the time of his death? Mm-hmm. Oh. All right. I forgot the whole family was about to get murdered.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He was described as fun-loving, and he even had a girlfriend at the time who became very concerned when she stopped hearing from him. Mm-hmm. Thomas was born August 28th, 1992, in the south of France. He earned a baccalaureate in literature when he was 17. He was passionate about music and studied it at the Catholic University in another town. He lived in the residence there at school and was described as an ordinary boy who was also shy and who would often be accompanied by his family to drop him off and pick him up even though he was 18. And he was very quiet and kept to himself most of the time. He was 18 years old at the time of his death. Anne was born August 2nd, 1994. She was in the 11th grade following an academic curriculum in science. And she was described by her friends and relatives as a girl who shared her mother's religious beliefs and was considerate and approachable. She was also occasionally a model for mail-order catalogs. She's gorgeous. This whole family is gorgeous, okay? Her friends became concerned when she was regularly offline and wasn't answering calls. Anne was 16 at the time of her death. Then there was Benoit. Benoit was born May 29th, 1997, and he was Xavier and Agnes' youngest child. He was an altar boy at their church, and he was 13 at the time of his death. And like his older brother Thomas, he was also into music, and in his case, he liked to play the drums. There's so much evidence that Xavier, the dad, planned their demise for a very long time.
Really?
Yes. So in July 2010, I'm going to go through the timeline. Okay, so he commits the act in April 2011. In July 2010, he sends emails to his friends, and I'm talking the dad, writing that there may be one day there may be accidents, quote unquote, accidents that happen to his family that he might be blamed for. And he says, I hope that even after a police investigation, my parents, brothers, and sisters will never be led to believe that I intentionally caused these accidents, even if the evidence is strong.
He sent this after he supposedly, or before he...
Honey, this was in July 2010. He doesn't do this until April 2011.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's already
setting up his alibis. And,
setting up his alibis.
Well, at least, like, trying to prove some reasonable doubt of some
or
sort.
trying to protect his reputation. Now, let me give you a preface to some of this, okay? His wife had an affair with his friend.
Okay.
With his close friend. And the way that he described it he would constantly write his feelings or whatever. The way that he described it was that he said that he didn't see her. He felt like she was the woman that would save herself for him sexually and, would only think of him because she was a pious Catholic woman, even though he was having affairs left and right, But he didn't expect that of her. And then he was shocked when he learned that she was human and that she thought of men sexually, even though it was his friend. So he confronts his friend and he says, he kind of basically tries to strike a deal with him, where we can all...
Oh, like a...
polyamorous kind of situation.
Okay.
But I think it was more to, mitigate the situation and not make himself look like a fool,
His friend.
Yeah, but it was, almost like a controlling thing.
Okay, they both sound like they
I want to
suck.
manage the situation.
Yeah.
You know,
They
the
both
wife was
really
just like
suck.
really had no affection, love, or anything from him. You know.
Okay.
I think she was just like looking for love and anywhere she could find.
Yeah, because it sounds like her husband just like is out doing his own thing, and
Blowing
he's not
through
like
money,
being
just
emotionally supportive,
being a
financially
narcissist.
supportive. Yeah,
You know,
he sounds like he sucks.
Yeah. Well, he very much sucks. Let me finish my story.
All right.
He says that, right? Then in January 20, 2011, Xavier's father, Hubert, dies. He has a heart attack, and he goes to clear out his dad's apartment. While he's sorting through his personal belongings, he's asking the neighbor, Michael Calvi, hey, I'm looking for a signet ring. It's supposed to have value.
Okay.
And I guess it's like the family ring. That,
Like the crest or
Yeah,
something,
whatever.
yeah.
So he's looking for that because it
Okay.
has value, right? But his dad had blown through all his money. There was no money to be
Jesus
left
Christ.
in, you know. And I think that's what Xavier had been banking on this. Someday my dad will die and I'll inherit all this money
Right.
that my
His
dad
properties
supposedly
or
had.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and his dad basically like blew through all that.
Right.
He had died in poverty,
Right,
you know. So I think it was just like, fuck, that was like my go-to.
right.
While in his apartment, his dad's apartment, he discovers a .22 caliber long rifle.
Okay.
And Michael recalls that when Xavier saw the rifle, he had like a dark look in his eyes, like his pupils fucking dilated, you know? And he's like in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, this is my way out.
Right.
On February 2nd, Xavier obtained his firearms license. He had been going with his boys, learning how to shoot. Prior to that, his friends recall that he never had any interest in weapons.
Right.
He gets his firearms license on March 12th, 2011. This is all working up. He purchases rifle bullets and goes to a shooting range in Nantes.
Okay.
Nantes, France. He visits 4 times between March 26th and April 1st.
Okay.
Thomas and Benoit, his 2 sons, also start to learn how to shoot.
Okay.
While he's there, he's asking the instructor questions about using a silencer. And, you know, silencers are very much frowned upon in certain circles. Mm-hmm. Usually mentally healthy circles.
Why?
Because why would you want to silence?
Why do you need a silencer?
Right. Why do you need one, right? So on March 12th, he bought a silencer to fit the rifle that he had found in his father's apartment.
Yeah.
In late March, Xavier purchased items from a home improvement store in France, in a French department store. You know, home improvement, like Home Depot,
Yeah.
but like for French people.
Right. Home Depot.
Okay. He drives nearly 200 miles away to go to this home improvement store.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That's suspicious.
There, yeah, don't
like,
be
don't be
suspicious.
suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. That's a 3.5 hour drive. Okay.
Okay.
So the items that he picks up.
in Europe, that's like you might as well have driven to another country.
Yeah, really, basically.
I mean, like,
Yeah. The things that he got were trash bags and a box of adhesive plastic paving slabs.
there should be like an alarm. Like when you go into like a department
We've
store.
talked about
There
this
should be
before.
like you have bought too many suspicious things in one.
Yes.
An alarm should go off. It should be sent directly to the FBI.
Yes.
Or whatever Bureau of Investigations in whatever country you're
Yes.
in. And that's it.
And you know how I know that this is possible, that they can do that?
What
Have
is
you
it?
ever bought spray paint at a home improvement store?
No.
You always have to show your ID.
Do they?
Spray paint.
Okay.
Yet you can be out here buying all the lime
Right.
and all the
All the
shovels,
shovels.
and all the duct
all
tape,
the bullets and silencers you
all the
want.
tarps,
Yeah.
and not have to present your
No
license.
big deal.
Fuck all the way off with
Yeah,
that
we're
system.
done with that.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you have... we have covered stories where it was murder on the conveyor belt.
Yeah, definitely.
And the checkout person's just like, beep.
Yeah, they're not even
Did you
looking.
find everything okay? Did you sign up for our rewards card?
Paper or plastic?
Yep. Like a chainsaw. Do you wanna get the extended warranty?
It's terrible.
I mean,
Fuck.
all right.
If I ever worked in a store like this, I'd be like, what are you doing with this?
Yes.
What's happening here? What's going on? What's this
I'd
here?
be like a sketch artist. This is what they
Like, you caught that on the camera, right?
with my cell phone secretly taking a picture of them.
That being said, I remember that one story. I can't remember who told it, where the guy literally returned
He returned the fucking
chainsaw
after he
with
chopped
bits
up a body.
of humans
Yo,
still attached
People
to
are
it.
wild, bro.
Yo,
People are
that's
so
a
crazy.
cheap motherfucker.
That's a
Take that
cheap-
loss.
Take it. Take the loss, bro. No.
Buy it outright and take the loss.
And then bury the fucking chainsaw in another state. Like, take it apart, but throw the pieces away as you're, like, driving through the state.
They're just
like,
not thinking.
the hell?
Dana, you're giving too many.
I haven't done a lot of thinking about this at all or anything.
On Friday, April 1st, Arthur, the oldest son, leaves his private college. He didn't show up at the pizzeria where he worked, and he was due to pick up his paycheck. And you know how a 20-year-old really, they hold their paychecks near and dear. All right? So the manager at the restaurant was surprised by this, as he always came regularly to pick up his paycheck, right? And I guess they get paid in the beginning of the month. Like,
Yeah, he
you
was
haven't
waiting
been,
on it.
you're
Yeah,
waiting on
right.
it, you know? Xavier also bought cement, a shovel, and a hoe on April 2nd. Also 4 bags of lime from different shops in the Nantes area.
France.
Nantes, France. Let me just tell you that lime is a corrosive material that would damage a corpse, right? And expedite the rotting process,
Decomposing.
the decomposition.
You're so
but
smart.
the heat that's produced by this chemical reaction also kills the bacteria, which ends up dehydrating the body.
Okay.
Okay? So on Sunday, April 3rd, a neighbor called Fabrice, love that name, saw Anye for the last time. And shortly afterwards, he sees Xavier putting large bags into his very small car.
Okay.
That evening, Xavier and Anye and Arthur and Benoit,
The
the
whole
whole family except for Thomas,
Okay.
are at a restaurant in Nantes. And then afterwards, they go see a movie.
Okay.
They go to see Rango.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Cute.
At 10:37 p.m., Xavier left a message on his sister's. I guess he was close to his sister Christine, and he left her a message on his answering machine. And he says, "We spent our Sunday evening at the movies together, then in a restaurant. We've just got back. I'm calling to ask if it's too late to speak to you on the phone, and now I see it's gone to voicemail. But I was surprised you spoke to me about Bertram, who's getting ready for his flight, huh? But I thought he's only just arrived." So I was a bit surprised. Anyway, sending you my love. If it's not too late, call me back or send me a text and I'll call you. Okay, I'm going to go put the kids to bed. Big pause on that one.
Oh.
Say hi to everyone. See you soon. Maybe. So he leaves that message to his sister.
The night that after
he
the movies.
killed them.
Okay.
Okay, so according to the autopsy, and they died either that night or the next night, okay? April 3rd or April 4th.
But they can't tell because of the lime.
Right, they can't tell because of the lime. So he says that he's going to put them to bed. So what happened was he drugged them with sleeping pills, shot everyone twice. Some reports say that they were shot in the head twice. Some reports say that they were shot in the chest twice. But each person was killed in the same way, shot twice, in their beds. So on Monday, April 4th, Anne and Benoit do not go to their school. They attended the same high school. It was reported that it was due to illness. Their friends become concerned, and when they're unable to reach them, a couple of them even go looking for them at their house.
Like knocking on the door or
Right.
whatever, yeah.
Which they come and they see a note on the door that says, "Please don't knock. We're ill and we can't come to the door," or whatever, something along those lines, right? They also remember that there was like a rumor going around about the family leaving to Australia because the father was being relocated for work. Their friends find it suspicious that this quote-unquote departure wasn't, that they never told
They didn't
them.
say goodbye.
They didn't say goodbye. It was just like, who does that, right? You tell your friends, you complain about it, you bitch about it, you post about it online.
Yeah.
There was nothing. Xavier speaks to his sister, Christine, on the telephone for 20 to 30 minutes that same day. This is now April 4th, right? She said that everything seemed normal.
Okay.
Xavier goes out and dines alone with his son Thomas at a very fancy restaurant.
Okay.
Now, this is the last heir to the Count name that is so important to him.
Right.
Because Arthur wouldn't have gotten it because Arthur's not his legitimate son.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it would be Thomas. So if he was annihilating the entire family by killing Thomas, he would end the count name. There's no more counts now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was a source of pride for him.
Okay.
So I think that's why he like took a little longer, like maybe molded over a little bit.
You think he killed, and people think he killed everybody except Thomas at this point.
Well, Thomas was at school.
Okay.
You know?
Right. Okay.
He was
yeah.
at school.
Okay.
So he takes him out to dinner at a high-end restaurant. They have a meal. The waiters say that they don't remember them talking much to each other, and that at the end of the night, Thomas complained about feeling unwell and left to sit in the car. And that they barely spoke to each other during the whole meal. On Tuesday, April 5th, a sheriff comes to the family home to recover a debt of $22,903.
Jesus Christ.
But nobody answers the door. Clearly, they were in financial distress.
Right. Yeah.
Like a lot. I mean, they were living like in a rented house, but in a nice neighborhood.
Okay.
You know, like the rich part of town.
Sure.
He had confessed to one of his, like, lovers, his ex-girlfriends or something, the dad, saying that they hadn't paid the rent in 4 months and that, like, he was, like, at his lowest point, and he got her to, like, give him, like,
Interesting.
50,000 euros or
Wow.
something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, he was, like, extorting money from
From
people.
everybody, yeah.
Ugh. The family's neighbors say that they had seen her April 5th outside.
The mom.
The mom. But they're not too sure.
Right.
People say that they saw her on the 5th, that they saw her on the 7th, but the autopsy puts the date at the 3rd or the 4th.
Right.
All right. But I mean, they can't be sure.
Right. And how do you know, like, how many times have you, like, did I see my neighbor on this day? Like, especially if you don't really have, like, a close relationship with them or just...
So a friend of Thomas who studied music with him said that Thomas spent that Tuesday afternoon with him at his friend's house. And they played music, watched TV, and that he was planning to spend the night at his friend's house, but Xavier called his son and told him that his mom had been in a cycling accident and that he should return home.
Okay.
So around 10 p.m., he takes the train and he goes back home. That night, his friend says he gets a message from Thomas, and he says, "I'm not coming to yours. I'm ill. I'm really ill. I'm not coming to class."
Okay.
And that wasn't like how they would normally text each other.
Yeah.
You know? And then 2 days later, he receives another text from him saying, "I'm out of battery. My dad's looking for a new charger for me." And that's the last that he ever heard of Thomas. So the fact that that text message was different than what Thomas would have normally texted tells me that he killed him that night.
Yeah.
So April 6th, now it's a Wednesday, Arthur's girlfriend, who's concerned because she hadn't heard from him, you know how girlfriends can be.
Yeah.
She knocks on the door of the family home, and she sees that there's a light on the first floor. She doesn't hear the dogs barking.
Oh, no.
They have 2 black labs.
Oh, no.
And the neighbors said that initially, around the 3rd and the 4th of April, they would hear the dogs howling, like, constantly,
Oh,
you know?
no.
And then all of a sudden, they just didn't hear the dogs anymore.
People aren't going to like that.
No. They were the sweetest boys, too.
No.
On April 8th, Xavier writes on the Catholic online forum that he had been, like, kind of trolling. He writes on there, he went online for the last time on April 8th from his IP address, all right?
Okay.
I don't know what the hell he wrote on there. But he also sends an email to his brother-in-law, Christine's husband. He's
Okay.
very close to Christine, I guess.
Okay.
Saying, "Everything's fine, Bertram. You'll hear more detailed news soon through Christine. Bye for now. All the best, Xavier." And that's like the last time he emails from that IP address.
Okay.
On Monday the 11th, Anne and Benoit's school receives a letter signed by Xavier stating that Anne and Benoit will be leaving the school and the family will be moving to Australia due to urgent professional changes. He also sends a letter to Agnès Catholic school where she works to the headmaster, and when the headmaster tries to call her, he can't reach her by phone. Initially, he had been telling the school that they were sick. You know, the whole family was
Right.
sick. You know,
Yeah.
he's managing that,
Yeah.
pulling the strings. And he even told Agnès' employer, the Catholic,
That she was
school,
sick.
that she was sick, that she had gastroenteritis, right? And that she had been hospitalized. And then, like, all of a sudden she's quitting. And when all her friends and colleagues, like, want to call her and see her at the hospital,
she's doing,
he's like,
send
he's
gifts,
like, nope,
whatever.
she can't be reached.
Yeah.
She's at the hospital. you know? So a letter dated April 11th is sent to Xavier's immediate family, and this was revealed in the press May 5th. In this letter, Xavier explains that after having worked covertly for the American Drug Enforcement, the DEA, the entire family had to relocate to the United States as part of a federal witness protection program, and that no one will be able to contact them for a few years.
And we'll put this in the paper.
Yeah, he advised his relatives to circulate reports on social media that the family has in fact moved to Australia. There is no proof that this letter was written by Xavier. To this day, the results of the DNA, if anything, are unknown. Okay, so they never proved that it was him that wrote it, but I will read the letter.
Okay.
That night, Xavier spends the night of the 11th and the 12th at a hotel near Toulouse in southern France. He pays for the stay by credit card. He is not hiding his trail. Okay. And he leaves in his car. April 12th, he spends the night at another hotel in southeastern France under the false name of Mr. Laurent Xavier. He pays $245.73 by credit card, also not hiding his, he's changing his name, but he's not hiding his credit card.
He's still using his credit cards, right?
Right. Up until this point, the family is just sick.
Right.
Nobody knows.
Nobody's looking for him, yeah.
Like, they're like, this is weird.
Yeah.
All right. On April 13th, the neighbors become concerned and they contact the police because the house has been shuttered. The shutters, they would never used to close them, and they've been closed for more than a week. And the car's been outside in the street the whole time.
Okay.
And the other car that he took wouldn't have fit the whole family.
Okay.
It was like a 2-seater or some shit, right? So Xavier spends the night at another hotel. He went to go to the town where he lived in the 1980s.
Okay.
This time. And he contacts a former girlfriend, and they didn't meet. So this whole time, he's been contacting people. All the way since July 2010, he had been contacting people that he knew from his life, kind of like putting the feelers out,
Okay. For what?
Either saying goodbye or maybe trying to establish connections of where he can get help later on as he does this act and disappears. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
So now it's Thursday, April 14th. He withdraws his last $34 from the ATM.
His last $34. That's sad. I've been there, bitch.
That evening, he sleeps at a cheaper hotel, and he's captured in the film surveillance, and that's the last known sighting of him.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So on April 15th, he checks out of the hotel and abandons his car there and leaves with a backpack.
Really?
On the 19th of April, an investigation is opened, and it's revealed that he purchased all these DIY kill kit.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
On the 21st, it's now a Thursday, they issued a wanted notice for the whole family. They're doing a press conference. And during the press conference, they are going out there, they're checking out the apartment, they're going through everything, they're not finding anything, right? When they do that press conference, in the middle of the press conference, the guy doing the press conference, I don't know if he's like a higher official, chief, police, whatever. I don't know how they do it. He gets a call. He stops the press conference. They found the whole family and the 2 dogs buried under the patio.
Get the fuck out of here.
They had been wrapped in their bedclothes. Because when the police came in there, they noticed that the bedclothes were gone. And it must have been, like, soaked right through the mattress.
Well, that's right. When you said they were shot in their beds, I'm like, what do you mean there was no... Like,
right?
Yeah.
Like, that was, like, a real question to me. Like, unless they had, like, mattress covers or something. Like,
maybe.
I don't know how, like, French people do.
Yeah, maybe he just, like, took everything off and then put new sheets on, which feels like a lot of work.
No, he didn't. He just stripped the beds.
Oh, okay.
And he took pictures off. He was, like, removing stuff from the house.
Very strange.
Took pictures right out of their frame. And I think that's what he was carrying out in garbage bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bedding and like, religious artifacts in there.
Okay.
So each person was, like, wrapped in the bedding, put into trash bags, and industrial trash bags, and buried under the patio.
Wow.
Yep. Also the poor puppies. During the night of the 21st and 22nd of April, the car was found at the hotel. So now the investigators were like, oh, he's on the run. Because they couldn't find him, They start to investigate, and they find that he had been looking into a monastery. Catholic monastery. That would have been perfect because he could hide there, you
Right.
know, and not be
Yeah,
given up. because
definitely.
The monks there do a vow of silence.
Right.
So how would they know?
They're gonna know.
Nobody's going to know. When the police go to investigate at the monastery, nobody was saying a word.
Really.
Yeah. So it proved to be very difficult. But anyway, on April 22nd, they do these autopsies, and they learned that the victims were drugged and shot with the .22 rifle that he got from his dad as they slept. So the prosecutor doesn't allow the family to see the bodies, right? They're buried.
Yeah,
right.
why would you want to?
They do a funeral right away. Well, that becomes a problem later on.
Oh, okay.
They do a funeral right away, lickety split, and then they cremate the bodies. The families don't get to identify, you know. And when they did the DNA test, they confirmed that all the members were from the same family.
Okay.
They shared DNA.
Okay.
But they don't say it was definitively them. You know what I mean? This is according to Xavier's family.
Why don't they just test the DNA against their family and they'll know who it is?
Well, I think they're living in denial.
You said that they were cremated, so there's no DNA left.
Yeah, but they took DNA when they did the autopsy.
Oh, it's that.
Yeah.
yeah,
They did.
I mean, if they did any autopsy, they're gonna have blood samples and DNA and shit.
Right. So an international arrest warrant is issued to locate Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès.
Right.
They want to hear from him.
Yeah.
Did
Where you at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you an innocent man? Do we have, you know? So on April 20th, because they don't know if he's been kidnapped, and they, you know.
Even though they saw him on the surveillance in that
that's
hotel
true, yeah.
by himself after the whole family was already done.
Yeah. So strike that.
Strike it. Sorry, bitch.
I wasn't paying attention to my own story. So on April 28th, they have the funeral. They had it at the church where they were members, and the poor 13-year-old was an altar server there. It's so sad. 1,400 people attend the funeral.
Yeah, my God.
They didn't have any flowers. It was like a simple ceremony, and security was provided for the event in the case that Xavier would return, or
Wow.
you know, or violence occurred or whatever, you know. So they were buried that Saturday, April 30th, which was the resting place of Agnès' family.
Okay.
So they were already like,
The other family was
Yeah.
already.
So anyway, so on April 29th, a search was carried out and the arrest warrant was issued to pick him up. On June 23rd, caving experts searched 40 natural caves in the radius around the area where he went. Okay, where he was last seen. Because they thought maybe he committed suicide. It's a mountainous area. They thought maybe he committed suicide. And, you know, like when we did the Akiogara forest, how they would go in there and they would just hide in these caves and you can't find them. But he's never been found.
Right.
The investigation has been running since 2011 and we still haven't found him.
Really?
Right? So before his disappearance, he had made several attempts to contact his old friends, right? There was this German woman that he had almost married in the 80s, but he didn't marry her, and they had one named Claudia. So they had to do this extensive search for this woman to see if maybe they were together and, you know, she was helping hide him or whatever. But Germany has this, like, really strict privacy laws, and they had to like stop the investigation. But then his family ended up finding the information on her, and it turned out to be a bust. But they're still looking for him because either he killed himself, which it doesn't sound like it, because it sounded like he was like a narcissist, and if he wanted to kill himself, wouldn't he have killed himself right then and there?
Right, with the whole family.
With the whole family, right?
Right.
But he didn't. He freaking did this elaborate freaking thing. Also, he had that NetSurf Concept LLC company where, like, they could make you literally disappear.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
So people think that maybe he left to the United States with that whole Route 66 thing that
He
he had.
could be anywhere.
Right. And he has this face like he could fit in anywhere. Now, some people believe that he could have left to Argentina.
Oh.
And
Europeans love hiding in Argentina.
yeah, because he was proficient in Spanish. He was proficient in English and Spanish and French.
Wow.
So he could fit in Argentina, you know. But the question of, well, did he have a passport that he could have used, like a fake passport?
Right.
But with the NetSurf thing and the connections that he had, maybe he could have come up with
Yeah.
a passport, you know, fake passport. And he planned this for so long that maybe he did.
Yeah, this is... wow. So
Yeah.
nothing. There's nothing on him.
There is no trace. Now, he's been spotted in certain areas. There was a sighting of him at a monastery.
Yeah.
And they went, and the monks weren't saying a thing. But they discovered that it was a case of mistaken identity, where one of the monks, one of the people there, looks like him. Yeah, he has a very generic face. So, then there was another sighting of him in Chicago at a casino. The guy looked just like him. And I believe that it was another case of mistaken identity. Then there was another case in 2015 where they found this body. But after they did testing and all that, it turned out that it was not his. It was somebody else. They found like this little like camping thing. Remember when we did Mostly Harmless?
Yeah.
Where I did that story.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, where they found this body and they had to do DNA testing, and it turned out that it wasn't him. They still don't know who that guy is.
What the hell?
Yeah. Then in mid-July 2015, a journalist in Nantes receives a photograph. Nantes, France. Receives a photograph, and on the back of it, it was a photograph of his two sons.
Okay.
His two biological sons.
Okay.
And in the back of it, it said, "I'm still alive."
Ooh.
And it was signed Arthur.
In his signature?
Not then Arthur. It was all caps. I don't know. His family is like, nah, that wasn't him, because he would have sent us anything. Why would he send it to them?
Well, that does seem like kind of out of the, like, what's the point?
Right.
You know?
They ran with it.
The police did? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, not the police, the newspapers.
the news,
He's become this was a huge deal in France.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, this was freaking 5 family members and 2 dogs.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
So then in October 2019, they arrested a man in Glasgow Airport in Scotland. He was using a stolen French passport.
Okay.
And they arrested him and fingerprinted him, and the Scottish police told the French police, hey, this is your guy. We are 100% sure.
Really?
that this is your guy.
Okay.
But when the French police went over there, they were like, this is absolutely not our guy. They're not. This was a 69-year-old guy, and our guy was like not 69. I don't know the math, but it wasn't 69.
You're an idiot.
But anyway, they had to let the guy go. It was like an embarrassing thing. It was like, wow, you're wasting our time. Blah blah blah. But here's the letter that Xavier, and this was like this was one of the first episodes of Unsolved Mysteries when they did the remake of Unsolved Mysteries.
Right.
It was on there. They received the letter dated April 11th, 2011. The explanation for why he was, the whole family was disappearing.
Okay.
So
This is a letter to his sister.
yes, it covers 4 pages. It just rambles on, and this is the translation. Hi, everyone. Huge surprise. We have to leave urgently for the U.S. due to a particular set of circumstances that we will explain below. You're receiving this letter by conventional post because for the next few years, we can't communicate any other way. No emails, no texts, no phone calls, for safety reasons. When you read this letter, we will no longer be in France and won't be able to return for an as yet undetermined period of time, a few years. You must be wondering what's going on. Here's the story, at least as much as we're allowed to tell you. This letter is the only correspondence we were allowed to write, which might be good news for some of you. And it has been checked before being sent to you. That must be like a grammar joke. I don't know. When we started our company...
because if he's in witness protection, they probably have to check it to make sure they don't give any,
okay,
incriminating evidence about where they are.
All right. When we started our company in Miami in 2003, we were put into contact through the person who helped us start the company with the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, a sort of American drug squad with agents on the ground in several countries. This is translated.
A sort of American drug squad. Like the biggest, one of the top agencies in America. It's so funny.
Who were looking for a French national to infiltrate the French nightclub scene to obtain information about drug trafficking and money laundering networks without drawing attention to themselves. This motherfucker is making up
himself
all of this shit.
Seems so important.
Oh my god. Also, he's a pretty good writer.
Yeah, right. Write a book, you probably make some money.
Right?
Yeah.
Through the Route de Commercial. I hate it. Bothers me that I can't say it right. So that was his little travel guide for salespeople that he used to do.
Okay.
All right. It used to like give people that traveled for business ideas on where to go eat, where to stay,
Okay.
such and such, right? So I found myself in a different city every evening with a legitimate reason to make contact with nightclub bosses to invite them to be listed in the leisure section of the RDC. So I was the ideal candidate. So once I was tested and briefed, I accepted my mission of working incognito for the DEA
Jesus Christ.
under the condition that I maintain secrecy, which includes, even more importantly, the children. So that's the real reason why we returned to France instead of settling in Miami, and not due to vaccinations that are supposedly dangerous for the children. Those who have never swallowed this bogus reason can rest assured they were right. LOL. So he was an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So this has allowed us to build our official business activity. So basically he's saying through that little thing, he was establishing these connections, and that they were using him as an undercover.
Yeah.
To make these connections, and that his cover had been blown. It says everything has gone according to plan in the nightclubs for the last 7 years until now. With the information that I have collected in this time, I have become a key witness in the upcoming trial involving major international drug trafficking kingpins. The trial will have to take place in the U.S. in the next few years. The date has not been determined. This is elaborate. What complicates matters is that certain tips had recently led us to believe that my cover may have been blown. And unfortunately, we received confirmation of this yesterday. Therefore, the situation has now become potentially dangerous for us here and has required for us to take emergency measures. When I first went undercover, I accepted that I might be placed into the Federal Witness Protection Program. This is what we now have to do. And we're not doing it with any excitement because it is necessary and there's no way around it. So we have been taken into protective custody by the U.S. government and been transferred to the U.S. And we have new identities, which most of us, of course, must be kept secret. By the time you read this letter, we will officially no longer exist as French citizens. We will be U.S. citizens living in the U.S. like any other citizen. Good luck with that one. Except we will be forbidden from communicating with our family and friends for an undetermined period of time, at least until the trial is over. And so this letter goes on, and he gives instructions about what to do with their stuff in their house, and who can keep what, and how to,
That's a lot.
He also says, hey, the stuff that's on the patio, yeah, you can leave that alone. That was there before we moved in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of rubble there. Pay that no mind. Because he's not expecting them to go digging under there.
Why?
It's kind of like sticking a body in a locker, Dana. Don't go looking in there. So it was kind of like the same thing. They're still looking for this man.
So what is his family maintaining that
that he didn't do it, that those weren't their bodies, that the government really is taking him, that he was, a spy, and that now the French authorities have contacted the DEA, and they're like, who?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, no.
Definitely not.
Right. And so they've discounted that. The head investigator believes that he's probably dead, but they can't close the case until they find that he's dead. But it's just why would he create this convoluted, crazy scheme, go through all this trouble? If he wanted to kill his family, he would have killed himself. You know what I'm saying? He would have done it then.
Yeah, I would think that probably maybe he got his hands on some money or something and he didn't want to...
He was broke.
And then why kill your family?
Right?
That's what's making me think maybe he got his hands on some money and was like, yeah, I'm going to just actually get out of this situation.
Yeah.
Could probably live high on the hog with a little bit of money in Argentina.
Maybe. So they're still looking for him. And this story, I always found it so fascinating because I'm like, did he freaking just totally off his family, his beautiful family, and just fucking leave? Because his dad left him.
When he was a kid.
He could have just done the same loser-ass shit,
Yeah. Maybe he thought that would be more, traumatic.
Right.
Than murdering them all.
Right.
And the dogs.
Yeah.
That is
he also tells his family that, the dogs were taken in by another family and not separated. Oh my, are you serious?
That's a lot.
Which is what a lot of family annihilators do, is that they think that it's better off that they live without them.
Right.
That since...
Yeah, I remember that with John List.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's
yeah,
usually
but
like
they-
some religious type shit, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
John List was found 18 years later. There's still time to find this guy.
Yeah?
Yeah, but
And
you know
he was
what?
alive.
His thing wasn't about religion, though.
Right. That was
No.
like, that's the thing is like, I'm doing this because they're going to be better off with the Lord than in this like terrible world. And it's like,
It
that's
wasn't-
not the case here.
Yeah, but his case wasn't about that. I think that people who have studied this, psychology people and people who know, human mentality or whatever, say that he was such a narcissist that he saw his family as being part of him.
Of course.
Like we.
Yeah.
He says we a lot. And
They're extensions of him.
Yeah, they're extensions of him. So if he was going to kill himself, he would kill them because they couldn't possibly continue to live without him.
Right.
And the fact that his wife had been, saying that he had this rigid mentality where he was the head, he's the palm and they're the fingers.
Right.
So the fingers can't exist without the palm,
Right.
So, that's how I think, how I see it. But I think he chickened out because he had a gun. He could have just shot himself right there and just be done with it.
You said it was a rifle though, right?
Yeah, a .22 rifle. I guess I don't know. I'd have to
I don't know
look at
about
what it looks
rifle
like.
too. But I mean like rifle to me is like rifle.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I think it looks like a long
Like a handgun?
pistol, like a long
Gotcha.
pistol or something. And it had a
a silencer,
silencer on it.
right.
yeah.
Huh.
So what do you think? Do you think he's still alive out
Yeah,
there? You
I
think
do.
he's still alive?
Yeah. With the information you've given me, I think it would be dumb if he was going to kill himself that he didn't just do it in the house.
Right.
Like, why hide all the bodies and do all of that? Why do all of that?
Right.
That's a lot of work. To dig graves, buy lime.
Right,
like,
yeah, why
That's
hide
a lot
the
of work if he
bodies?
was going to then go to an undisclosed location and die where no one would know who he was.
Right. So the thing is, like, how did he get out of the country? Like, you'd have to have, like, a passport. It would have to be, like, such a good passport.
Yeah, but, like, isn't in Europe, can't you just, like, get on a train and go to another country that, like, without passport situations?
I'm not sure.
No, you have to have a passport. Even if if you remember your one story, the person had to have a passport for traveling within the country.
That was Russia.
That's
Russia.
different, yeah.
Yeah, so
Russia's different, though.
Right,
I was sort of
Russia
under the
is true.
assumption that, like, I guess you're right, yeah.
but no, they have passports and they travel quite often from country to country.
Yeah, like,
and-
it's a
I
lot
guess it must
easier
be
to
like
travel there.
when we go to Mexico by car.
Right, or Canada,
or
you just, like,
Canada
cross
by
in.
car.
But I guess you still, now,
have to
like,
present
but
your
before you
passport.
didn't. Like, I've been to Canada twice and I didn't need my passport. Now you do. But, like, when we were younger, so I don't know, like, when, who's to say, like, what the times were in 2011, like...
Yeah.
it's still required back then.
I mean, like, I went into Canada, but I didn't need a passport, and, like, I wasn't a full-ass adult, like...
Yeah, after 2001, I think a lot of things changed. So being that this was after 2011, I'm sure things were already tightened up a little bit. When I traveled, of course, as a U.S. citizen, of course, I was traveling all over. And when I went from one country to the next, I had to show my passport all over again and get it re-stamped everywhere I went.
So that's the only reason why people are like, well, how did he get a passport? But he had that company that made people
Right.
basically disappear. So I don't know. I would love to get this guy caught if he's still out there, though.
Yeah.
Because what he did was just heinous.
Yeah,
I can't wait for you to see the pictures there. Such a beautiful family.
that sucks.
Such a shame. That's it for us, all right? So we will see you next week. And in the meantime, you can check us out on Patreon, where we have other stories there. And we share videos and all kinds of things. You can also show support by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Make a small donation there or whatever you want. The best thing you can do for us is spread the word about our podcast and give us a good review on iTunes or anywhere you can leave a review. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We'll check you out next week. And remember, do not get taken to the second location. Be good or be good at hiding a body. Cheers.
Cheers. Are you okay? Jesus Christ.
Fucking loud.
You're disgusting and I hate you both. Oh god.
I'm crying laughing and holding my pee because I almost fucking peed myself.